Righto, you lot. Good morning, happy morning, a lovely Saturday morning to you lot. Now, I'm trying to get through all these questions that I keep getting regarding CB radio and other topics around radio. Now, I'm going to try and answer probably a couple of questions in this video, all relating to meters and burners, because it's just the way it is. I'm not interested in the legality. It's not anything to do with me. If somebody wants to use a pair of boots on 27 megs, alright? So put all the comments about that if you want. They're all welcome. But it's not my problem. So I've got one here. Primarily was used on 10 meters before, but that's okay. These can be used on 27 megs, 11 meters anyway. So it doesn't matter. So I haven't actually got a radio, and I don't want to unpack this. So I'm just going to use the box because I'm only answering questions. I'm not actually demonstrating them working. So I'm just going to use the box. So one of the questions is, in what manner or what way or what how do you wire everything up? What order should all of the wires be in? What order should all of the equipment be in? Now, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the burner here. You can have the burner there, and you can have the meter on this side. It doesn't matter in what order you have the equipment, but it does matter in what order it's wired in. Now, the reason I've got it like this is because my patch leads are too short, and I can't have them in any other order. So, the way that it needs to go is you need to start off. Some people start on the antenna end. I start off on the radio end because that's how I like to start. Now, you've got your radio, and obviously you've got one plug in the back. You plug a patch lead in the back of the radio. That then has to go to the burner next, not the meter. Some people put the meter next, but I'll explain why that's wrong in a minute. I don't want to confuse anybody. So it goes from the radio around to the burner. Okay, now in the burner you need to plug that into the part which says transceiver or TX or RTX, depending what your one says. Next you've got 50 ohm load of antenna. That one has to have another patch lead which comes out of there and goes into the meter, and it goes into you can read it. I'm trying to get it in focus. I don't think you can read it, but transceiver or TX, RTX, whatever that your one says, hopefully you can read that. And the other one that obviously says antenna, and obviously that one goes to the antenna. I'm not going to plug an antenna in here. Let's just pretend and stick a dummy load on there. There's a dummy load to pretend to be the antenna. La 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 la. There you go. So this one goes to antenna. Now, that's the way you need to do it. The reason for that is because the amplifier's job is to amplify the RF power coming from the radio. So obviously that needs to be after the radio. So the power literally goes at 4 watts. It will go through that cable into this burner. It'll do its stuff, and then it'll shoot more power, whatever it may well be, more power, amplified power through this into the meter, and the meter will do its thing, ding ding ding, like that, show you how much power that you're making, and then it'll shoot that power out the antenna. Now there's loads of I must point out that this video is designed to help a beginner. Probably should have said that in the beginning actually. So all the dB loss and the loads of antenna and all the connection losses, I'm not interested in that for this video. You can put it in the comments to let other people read and let them know, and I'll read it as well, and perhaps I'll learn something. Because I by far don't know everything. I mean, I know literally that much of what there is to know. So don't get the wrong impression. Just because I'm a bit confident doesn't mean I'm arrogant, alright? So, yeah, it's designed for a beginner, alright? Just how to wire it up, and it'll work, alright? Then you can learn later on about the losses and everything like that. Different types of coax and all that rubbish. But, yeah, now, I said earlier on that some people, there is one demonstration, one person I know recently, which also asked the question, how do I wire it up properly then? He bought himself a brand new burner. I'll tell you a little bit of a backstory if you want. Hold on a sec. Just had a bit of a drink, got a bit of a dry throat. Bit of a backstory here, bit of a story, right? A person come up and he said, I bought a new burner. Brilliant, I said. He said, I'm going to plug it in. Brilliant, I said. He plugged it in. He come up and he said, is there any difference? And I said, well, a little bit. Sound a bit clearer, a bit louder. Lovely. He said, I've got my meter in line. It's not making any more power. I don't think the burner's working. I said, well, turn it off. So he turned it off and his signal went a bit scratchy and his voice went a bit scratchy. He turned it on and his signal got a little bit, quite a bit clearer, and it was less scratchy. I said, it's definitely working. It's definitely a difference. He said, well, my meter's not showing a difference. I'm still doing 4 watts. I said, right. I said, wonder what can be wrong. He said, I don't know. But my meter's only showing 4 watts whether I turn it on or off. I said, how have you got it wired? And this is how he had it wired. So, he had it, because before he had his burner, cut that out, he just had his radio and his power SWR meter, okay, in line. And he's reading his SWR because he was just I don't know. Look, I'm not interested in the I'll talk about it later on. But anyway, he had that in line. So it went radio, 4 watts into his meter, reads 4 watts, and then out to the antenna. But then he bought his burner, and he got that, and all he did was he plugged it into the end, alright? So it went radio, meter, burner, antenna, right? Now, the burner will work, and it will be putting out whatever power it puts out, but it won't be reading on the meter. And the reason for that is because the radio power is going into the meter and being read at 4 watts. Then the 4 watts is coming out of the meter and going into the burner and being amplified to whatever that may well be, 60, 70, 100, whatever watts, and then going straight out the antenna. So the reading from the burner is not being read. It's only being read from the radio. Does that make any sense? Hopefully that makes sense. You're amplifying the 4 watts after it's gone through the meter. So that's why when he was saying, oh, the burner's not working because it's not reading any more power, because he's only reading the power from the radio because it was in the middle of the line. For a meter to be to read the power from the burner, it has to be after the burner. It can't be before the burner, because as I've already explained several times, and I'll explain it again, if it's before the burner but after the radio, it will read the power from the radio only, and any power from the burner won't be read, but it will still work. It will still be putting out its power and it will still work. You just won't see the power being read on the meter. So hopefully that's helped some of you lot that may be getting confused on how to do this and the reason as why. There are some other technicalities which I don't really want to go into in this video, because I want to keep it nice and simple for somebody who's beginning or somebody who just doesn't know. And that's the point, that's the aim of the game, because there are a lot of people coming up on the radio. They're either old school and they back in the 80s and that, all they had was 4 watts and they've never wired up a burner and they're having trouble. Either that or they're completely new breakers and they just don't know anything, full stop. And there's also loads of questions on my videos, and I've also seen other people's videos getting a lot of questions about how to do this. So I just want to keep it simple. But I do want to talk about one thing that is quite frequently talked about on air as well. And I've heard a lot of people telling people not to do this one thing, but I disagree. And I do disagree, actually, quite, well, reasonably strongly. And that is keeping your meter in line. Now, I really don't worry about all the little small niggly things. I really don't. But some people really do go over the top. But also that means that some people get caught up in in the OCD-ness of other people, and some people just and it confuses some people. So what it is basically is now leaving a meter in line. Basically, the more connections you have from the radio, the more connections. So let's just say you're running the radio and a burner, right? Let's just say that, because let's be honest, a lot of people probably will be. So you've got your radio, you've got your boots, right? Now, you've already got one connection, so that's some dB loss from the radio to the burner. And then you've got another connection onto the antenna. So let's just say this is the antenna coax, just for example's sake, okay? So you've got another connection here, which you can't help because you need to get to the antenna. But you've got one already, which, you know, you lose a bit of dB, lose a bit of dB here, and then you've got your coax, where you lose how much dB on the coax, depending on what coax you've got and what length of it and everything. Now, that's okay, but if you've got a meter in line, you've then got another patch lead, losing some dB, into a meter, which will also eat up some dB, some signals and some stuff. It'll eat that up and make it go into nothing, and then shoot whatever's left out the antenna. But it's not a lot. I mean, it's a few dB, but it's not a massive amount, and I wouldn't worry about it. You know, people are always like, oh, take your meter, put your meter in line, measure your SWR, measure your power, you know what you've got, take the meter out of line, then you will be working. It won't work properly with it in line, which is an utter, complete load of bollocks, really. If you're going to be doing it properly, yeah, and you're trying to get the absolute optimum, I mean, the very best, yeah, just take it out of line. But then you don't want to be running a burner, because these will, you know, what can I say? I'm going to stop there before I get too far into it, but if you're just literally I mean, look, I leave mine in line, I always have. They're a handy piece of equipment, providing it works properly. If you've got a fairly decent one, it ain't going to be that bad anyway. And providing your setup's working fine, just leave it in line. It's a good indicator, because not only is it fun to watch, I mean, I like watching them as you talk, but you know, you can read your SWR whenever you want. It gives you an indicator, but you don't have to even read the SWR. Turn that down. You don't even have to read the SWR to know that you've got an issue with your antenna system or your coax or even anything else, because let's just say, for example's sake, you've got your setup, your radio, your burner, right, and your meter, and you know 100% on setting 1, for example, on this one, with your 4 watts in on setting 1 on a burner, and you know, I don't know what you'll get, I've never used this one, but you just to say, you know that you're going to get 40 watts of power out, and this meter always reads 40 watts, okay? And then one day you wake up and you turn the radio on and you key up and you're only getting 20 watts. Right, you're still on setting 1, the burner's on, the radio's on, everything's on, but you're only getting 20 watts. This meter's only reading 20 watts. Well, something's different, something's wrong, isn't it? That could be that your antenna's, you know, something's happened to your antenna and you've got a bit of high SWR, so you can quickly flick it over to SWR, calibrate it and everything, and read your SWR, and you can see if you've got an issue there. But if you didn't have your meter in line, and you just had your radio and your burner, you could key up in that morning and you'd only be doing 20 watts because you've got an SWR issue with your antenna, perhaps the wind blew it over or something, but you don't know this. And you're going to be talking away to somebody local on 20 watts. And you could be potentially damaging your burner, but you don't know because you've not got your meter in line. But you've got your meter in line, the power was different, it made you think something's different here, I better investigate, and away you go. Simple as that. I know people that haven't run meters and they've been talking away locally and they haven't realised that their antenna's got an issue and they've blown their burner up and they've also damaged their radio because they didn't have a simple meter in line and it didn't give them an indication. It's that simple thing, as if you leave it in line, you can catch the problem before it does any damage. Because you can key up and you can think that power, that it's not right, something's different there, something's changed with that meter reading, so I'm going to have to investigate. Whereas you wouldn't have known before. So if I were you, I wouldn't worry about people going, oh, don't leave the meter in line, it'll affect the way your radio works, it won't be working very good or whatever, you won't be getting all your power out because your meter will be eating up all your dB and all that rubbish. Ignore all of that. As long as you plug it all in and you're all working fine, you've got good audio, your signal's good, you've got no issues, leave your meter in line and just leave it on power. You ain't got to leave it on SWR, you can just leave it on power. On power. And as long as you know that every time you key up, it goes to the same power, yeah, goes to 40 watts, 100 watts or 4 watts every time, and you know that if you key up once and it's a bit limp, or if it waves up and down, you know, the power does, yeah, because an SWR issue or a VSWR issue will cause the power to go up and down. You know you've got an issue and you can sort it out before you do any damage. Anyway, got a little bit intense on that one because just some people they're frustrating because you've got beginners come up on the radio and there's people just trying to make it complicated for them. Beginners don't want complicated things. They want simple instructions, and I always say just leave the bloody meter in line, and everyone else is on the radio going, oh, take the meter out of line, that's why it's not working, because you've got a meter in line. It's not, alright, piss off, guys. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking, I'm easy going, I'm having a laugh. Anyway, so yeah man, hopefully that's sorted out you and some confusion. I've done a video on this before, but hopefully I've made it nice and simple for you lot now, okay? Just imagine it in this sequence in your head. As I said, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to set your bench up, radio, burner, meter. It doesn't have to be like that. If you've got patch leads that are long enough, you can have the burner in the next room if you want it. Of course, again I'm going to open up a can of worms about, oh no, you can't have long patch leads because you're going to lose all your power. Look, I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be in this sequence, but it has to be in this sequence as far as the wires are concerned. Alright? Nice. Radio burner meter. Or take the burner out, radio meter. Antenna. Alright? Lovely. I'll catch you on the next one, you lot. If I did confuse anybody, or anything, put it in the comments and I'll try and sort it out. Yeah man, enjoy radio and enjoy yourselves. I'll catch you later on.